So we are here with David Salgado, Head of Operation of Mattereum. Mattereum is a London-based project founded by Vinay Gupta and is dealing with smart contract and their enforceability. When did actually Mattereum start, and what is the idea behind it and the reason why it was started?
So Mattereum, I think, started around August 2017, roughly. And there are a lot of underlying reasons why Mattereum was founded. I think fundamentally, everybody agrees that blockchain technology has a huge degree of promise and could be revolutionary in the fields ranging from global trade to personal identity, data trading that we talked about. And there are use cases at the interface between the digital world and the physical world that we're really only just even beginning to think about, like property rights and augmented reality. So if you want to buy advertising space, and this is a crass example, but if you wanted to buy advertising space in a particular layer of augmented reality around a certain point in a city, for example, those property rights are they're not directly intellectual property rights, they're not physical property rights, they're a whole new kind of thing. And the interface between cutting edge digital technology and the real world, the world we live in now, is kind of where we want to be. And Mattereum exists to inhabit that space and kind of build a bridge between where we are now and the future. And one of Vinay's points that he's made in a number of talks is that the future is our biggest trading partner. So we need a way to facilitate trade with that partner, and that's kind of what we're here to do.
So you see blockchain as an emerging solution to emerging problems. You are more focused on the future, or do you see blockchain also as a tool to fix some frictions that have emerged in the past years?
I think there's certainly the potential for both. But blockchains are not going to fix anything by themselves. So one of the things that I was talking about in my presentation that I didn't really harp on particularly is that we need people to be able to do things on the blockchain. And by do things, as I spoke about, I'm not talking about buy stuff with a credit card, because we can do that already. If it works with a credit card, we know how to do it. It's kind of fine. Blockchain technology has the ability or the potential to provenance, for example, making use of the power that blockchain gives you to have a trustworthy record of what it was that people actually did. And I think that's the real promise of blockchains, is to be that digital evidence record of who did what in the context of this agreement, so that we can track the promises that we made. We can track if we gave $100 million to go build a bunch of infrastructure in a developing country, we can identify where that money went. And so there is certainly potential to fix, or at least to try to fix, all sorts of problems relating to the converse of that, which is obfuscation, corruption, lack of accountability, things happening that we don't know about, money going missing. So, sorry, that's a very rambling answer, but I think there is absolutely potential for blockchain technology to address current problems and not just future problems. And what we want to do is to make sure that blockchain is actually useful enough for people in the real world right now, that we have that kind of infrastructure layer available to us in the future for these sort of more blue sky ideas.
So I understand what you say, and I think that technology to really make a change needs to go together with other changes, surrounding change, of course. Technology alone does not solve any problem. Technology alone doesn't change anything. So we will probably need social changes, changing the mentality and changing in the legal system, or something else maybe. In your opinion, what do you think should be there next to blockchain technology, around blockchain technology, to support it's the paradigm shift that potentially could enable?
Well, that's a really interesting question. So if we're talking about legal systems, and I'm absolutely not a legal scholar, so please don't take this for anything more than my personal opinion, I think that some changes are needed to recognize the validity of blockchain audit logs as proof of something that we care about. So there are a lot of contradictions in the legal system. For example, one of the projects I was looking at a while back, before I joined Mattereum, we talked about looking at signatures as a thing. So we were looking at legal forms and saying, well, can we make this form better? How do we put this form online? If we just put the form online in its current form, it's not going to work. And part of the problem is signatures, because signing things online is kind of a mess, really. There are sort of laws around it, and there are technological tools to try and make it work, but they're quite hard to use. They're kind of clunky. And then the question arose, well, why is there a signature on this thing? What is that for? And we use signatures as a proxy for identity. Everything comes down to identity in the blockchain space. And in the real world, we say this is valid because I signed it, but that's rubbish, because signatures are ridiculously easy to forge, and 99 times out of 100, nobody actually looks at them anyway. When you have, I don't know about the case in the Netherlands, but in the UK, an awful lot of the forms where you have to sign them, the reason that you have to sign them is a piece of legislation that says there must be a wet signature in ink on this thing. But nobody actually ever looks at that signature or cares about it at all. What you're actually doing is you're entering some data that says something about the world or something that you want to happen, and somebody is then using that data to validate, oh yes, this person with this national insurance number at this address really does exist, and this is true, so we better make this change that they've asked for with this form. So, sorry, that's a very long-winded way of saying that I think there's an awful lot in the legal system that's kind of outdated, and if we want to be able to use this sort of technology, which is just now sort of coming to the fore, we need to make changes in the legal system to make sure that we have a sensible interface between the legal system and the technology. So if I take a document and I put the hash of it on a blockchain, that's a much, much more secure proof that that document existed in that form at that time than anything else that we have right now. But as far as I'm aware, there isn't any legal recognition of that. And that kind of thing, I think, are the kinds of changes that we need to make.
Okay, thank you very much.
Pleasure, thank you.
I would go on with this conversation for hours. Unfortunately, we have restricted time in front of the camera. And so we can say hi to everyone who's following us on the live stream. And thank you very much, David Salgado from Mattereum.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.